IGCSE 2021. Let's try and get it done in an hour. Let's go. Question 1. This is a speed question, so you're going to want to know this triangle, speed, distance, time, and the time needs to be in hours because it's going to be in kilometers per hours. So that's 8 hours and 12 out of 60, which is the same as 8.2, because 12 out of 60 is a fifth of an hour. So if I'm working out the speed, I need to do the distance over the time, which is equal to 5658 over 8.2. On the calculator, 5658 over 8.2, and we get 690. Next question. Nth term. We look at the gap between each of the terms, and in this case it is minus 6, minus 6, minus 6, so therefore it's minus 6 times by n. And then I like to look at the 0th term. Imagine what term would go in that position. Well, I'd have to add 6 to it, and that would be 91. So it's minus 6n plus 91. Right, question 3 is a compound shape, so I'm going to split it into two regular shapes. This area here will be 14 times x, and this distance here will be 13 minus x, and this distance here will be 14 minus 8, which is 6. So the total area of the shape is 14x plus 6 times by 13 minus x divided by 2, because it's a triangle, and that will equal 91.8. So multiplying out, I'll get 14x. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and then, so that'll be just the same as 3, and 3 multiplied by 13 is 39, minus 3x is equal to 91.8. This will give me 11x plus 39 is equal to 91.8. Subtract 39 from 91 is 52.8. And then divide that by 11. 52.8 divided by 11 is the same as 4.8. Okay, on the farm there are chicken, ducks, there are chicken, ducks and pigs. The ratio of chickens to ducks, so I'd write here C to D is 7 to 2, and the ratio of ducks to pigs is 5 to 9. And it also says there are 36 pigs on the farm. What I'm going to do is I want to get these ratios the same. So if I multiply this ratio here by 5, then I'll get the same as 35 to 10. And if I multiply this one by 2, I will get 10 to 18. And the purpose of doing that is getting these two numbers the same, because these are both the ratio of the ducks. So now I can write C, D, P, 35, 10, 18. And I know that the pigs, there are 36. So if I multiply this by 2, that will be nice and neat, because that will give me 36 pigs, 20 ducks and 70 chickens. So the answer is 70, the number of chickens. Expand and simplify. 3x times 2x is 6x squared. 3x times 3 is 9x. Minus x times 3x is minus 3x squared. And minus x times 5 is minus 5. Collect the x squareds, gives me 3x squared plus 4x. And moving on, make t the subject. So the first thing I'll do is plus d to both sides. That'll give me p plus d is equal to at. And then I can divide both sides by a, which will isolate the t, and give be a formula for t, p plus d over a. So when I multiply letters or numbers that are the same, the powers will add. So this will give me 5 plus n as the new power, and that'll be over w to the power of 3, which is equal to w to the 10. Now, when I divide w's, I'm going to subtract the powers. So this will give me w 5 plus n minus 3 equals w to the 10, which is the same as w to the 2 plus n equals w to the 10. And because these w's are the same, the powers must be the same because there's an equal sign between them. So we can see that n is equal to 8 because 2 plus 8 equals 10. Okay, let's skip to the most important part, and that is that orange is 3 times the probability that it will land on pink. So I could call orange 3x and pink 1x. And now what I can do is I can add the probabilities together, because I know that if I add all these probabilities, one of them will have to happen. So therefore, it must equal 1, must be certain. So I will do 1 minus 0.2 minus 0.12 minus 0.08, and that will tell me that 4x is equal to 0.6. So 1x is equal to 0.15. That's the probability of pink, so orange is 3 times that, so it's 0.45. Grace spins the arrow on the spinner 150 times. Work out how many times she would expect it to land on blue. Well, the expectation function is the number of trials multiplied by the probability, and the number of trials is 150, so I've times that by the probability of 0.12, and that will give me 18. Okay, let's go. Inequalities, so we've got 2 white here. I'm going to divide everything by 2, which will give me minus 2 less than or equal to y less than 3. All the possible values, because y is an integer, means a whole number. So it can be minus 2, because there's a less than or equal to sign there. Let's go through them. Minus 1, 0, 1, 2. It can't be 3 because it says that it's less than 3 and not equal to 3. Solving this inequality, when you've got an unknown on both sides of the equation, I would always subtract the smallest one. So I'm going to subtract 2t from both sides, and that will give me 5t. Minus 3 less than, keep the symbol the same in the middle, and 31. I would then add 3 to both sides to give me 5t is less than 34, and then I'll divide through by 5, and I'll get t is less than or equal to 34 over 5. The difference in population between China and Germany, well, let's just have a look, China and Germany. So I'll get my calculator out and I'll do 1.4, this button down the bottom, times 10 to the power of 9, and then I would subtract, because difference means that we're looking at how far apart they are, so we need to use subtraction. 8.2 times 10 to the 7, and this gives me quite a large number, so I'll write that down. 131 8, and how many zeros we've got there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They want it in standard form, so I need to move the decimal point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to get a number between 1 and 10. So the number between 1 and 10 is 1.318, and I moved the decimal point 9 spaces to achieve that. Okay, so this question is essentially asking me, if I just rearrange this, so I've got f is equal to 1 over k times s. If I times both sides by k, I would get kf is equal to s. And then if I would divide both sides by f, I would get s over f. So I've basically got to work out s divided by f. So Sweden, which is 9.9 times 10 to the 6, divided by Fiji, which is 9.1 times 10 to the 5. So I put that in my calculator, do a little divide symbol, 9.9 times 10 to the 6 over 9.1 times 10 to the 5. And I would get 10.87, and correct, the nearest whole number is 11. Oh wow, look at this for factorization. Okay, what do they have in common? Well, let's look at the numbers. 5 is the highest common factor. Let's look at the a's. There's an a, and we'll look to the power of 4 as the highest power of a. C, the highest power, is 3. They don't share a d, they don't share a h, so that's everything done. So let's look at this first term. I'm going to highlight it yellow. I'm going to need 5 times 5 makes 25. I've already got my a's sorted. C, I need another 4 to make 7, and I need a d there. And here, plus 9 multiplied by 5 is 45. A to the 5 to make a to the 9. C's are sorted, and I need a h. I need to multiply out these brackets first off. So I will do that here. I will get 4x squared. I will get plus 10x. I will get plus another 10x, and I will get plus 5. And then we need to multiply out these brackets. 2x plus 3, 2x minus 1. And I'll get 4x squared minus 2x plus 6x minus 3. 4x squared can cancel from both sides. So I have 20x plus 5. Whoops. That should be 25. Apologies. And that should be plus 4, and that's minus 3. Take the 4x from both sides. Minus the 25, sorry. Divide through, I get x equals minus 28 over 16, which can be simplified down to minus 7 over 4. Jeffro, that is a fantastic name, has sat 5 tests. Each test is marked out of 100, and his mean for the 5 tests is 74. He sits one more test that is also marked out of 100. He wants his mean to be 77 for 6. Work out how much he's going to need. So if his mean was 77 out of 6, then he would have scored in total 6 times 77 marks, which is 462. So that's how many marks he needs to score across the 6 tests. So far, he has taken 5 tests and averaged 74. So he would need to have, well, he's already scored 370. So if I take away how much he needs from how much he already has, we should get what he'll need to have in the 6th test, which is 92. Okay, this is a classic type of question where all of the terms are powers of 2. So root 2 is 2 to the half. 16 is 2 to the 4, and that's equal to 2 to the something. When I multiply 2's together, or anything together that is the same, the powers add, So I get 2 to the 4.5 is equal to 2 to the x. So therefore x is equal to 4.5 or 4.5. When we've got these brackets here, the exponents multiply together. So I get 11 to the minus 30 over 11 to the 4. And when we divide 11s or anything then the same, then the powers subtract. So that's minus 30 minus 4, which is 11 to the minus 34. So therefore n is minus 34. Okay, looking for the arc length. Well, the circumference of a circle is 2 pi r, but I want a fraction of that circumference. I don't want the whole circumference. In fact, I want 50 out of 360 amount of that circumference, because that's what the angle is, and that's out of a whole circle, which is 360. So this would be 50 over 360 multiplied by 2 multiplied by pi multiplied by r. So to the calculator we go. 50 over 360 times 2 times pi times 7. Whoops, completely messed that up. 50 over 360 times 2 times pi times 7. There we go, that's much better. And to one decimal place, that is 6.1. Okay, expanding. I'm going to do the brackets first, and then I'll multiply everything by 4x afterwards. So that times that is 6x squared. That's minus 9x. And this times this is 2x and minus 3. So that gives me total x squared minus 7x minus 3. And I need to then multiply that by 4x. So I'm going to times each term by 4 and each term by x. So I'm going to get 24x cubed minus 28x squared minus 12x. And we are done. Interquartile range. Oh, what a horrid question. But luckily, actually, they've put them in order for us, which is very nice of them. And I bet you there's going to be an odd number of numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Perfect. Okay, so the median number is the number in the middle, which will be the 6th number, 13. And then the lower quartile is the number halfway in the bottom half, and the upper quartile is the number halfway in the top half. So the interquartile range is the upper quartile minus the lower quartile, which is going to be 16 minus 9, which is 7. Okay, circle theorems. It's 4 marks, and it says give reasons for each stage of your working. And the angle which we need to find is OPQ. So I take my pen and I start at O, I go to P, and then I go to Q. So this is the angle which I'm looking for right in here. Okay, right, let's start working out angles that I do know. And the first one I know is this one. That's POR is equal to 360 minus 238, and that is because angles around a point add to 360. So you see what I'm doing? I'm needing to write down every bit of information to get my full marks. That's 122. Okay, great. Now that tells me that this angle up here is half of that. So PQR is equal to 122 divided by 2, which is 61. And that is because angles at the angles at center is twice angle at circumference. Okay, so that's 61, and I've got to use this 60-degree angle now. Right, that tells me that this angle here is 30. And we would say that this angle would be ORQ. ORQ is equal to 90 minus 60, which is equal to 30, and that's because radius and tangent meet at 90 degrees. Okay, and now in order to work out the angle which we're actually looking for, which is OPQ, we would do 360, because this arrowhead is a quadrilateral, minus 238 minus 61 minus 30. 300 minus 238 minus 61 minus 30, and that is 31 is the answer, and that is because angles in quadrilateral add to 360. Done. Okay, recurring decimal. Oh, there's a couple of ways of doing this. Now, what I'm going to do is, and I think some teachers might scream at me for this, but I'm just going to go for this method here. And that is, seeing there are 2 digits reoccurring, so I'm going to multiply x by 100, because 100 is, of course, has 2 zeros, and there are 2 digits reoccurring. So multiplying through by 100 is going to give me 28.13131313. And what you will notice is that this method is guaranteed you will get the decimals lining up, and they line up right here. I'm then going to subtract. Well, actually, let me just move this below to make the subtraction a bit more obvious, like this. Very good. I'm going to subtract, and all of these recurring decimals is going to cancel out. So I'm going to have 99x is equal to 28.13 minus 0.28. So I'll go and do that on my calculator. I will do 28.13 minus 0.28. And that will give me 27.85. So it's 27.85 over 99. I would then type that into my calculator. I'll divide it by 99, and it will come out with my correct fraction here. So I know I've got it correct. And we are done. Use algebra, prove that any given 3 consecutive even numbers. Okay, so straight off the bat, I'm going to need to think about what an even number is. Now, an even number can always be given as 2n, because it's where n is an integer. So consecutive numbers. So I could go for 2n plus 2, because that's going to be the next even number, and 2n plus 4. Again, it's going to be the one after that. But I've got a bit of a cheat here, and I'm going to go for 2n minus 2, 2n, and 2n plus 2, just to keep the numbers a bit easier, and I'm more likely to get some cancellation. Okay, anyway, what are we doing? The difference between the square of the largest number and the square of the smallest is always 8 times the middle number. Wowza. Okay, so let's dissect this. Difference means to subtract one thing from the other. I want the square of the largest number, so I can do that. The largest one is definitely 2n plus 2, and I'm going to square it. and then the square of the smallest number, which will in this case be 2n minus 2 squared. So let's calculate what that is. Multiplying out these brackets is going to give me 4n squared plus 4n plus another 4n plus 4. That's multiplying out the first bracket. The second bracket is going to give me 4n squared. It will give me minus 4n minus another 4n, and it will give me plus 4. Okay, let's look at these one at a time and simplify them first. So 4n squared plus 8n plus 4 minus, I always put them in brackets as well, just so I don't make any mistakes with the signs. And then what I do, once they're simplified, is I go through each one and I look 4n squared minus 4n squared, well that's 0, perfect. 8n minus 8n is going to be 16n, because the two minuses. And then finally 4 minus 4 is 0. So we get 16n, and 16n is equal to 8 times by 2n, which is equal to 8 times by the middle number. So we have proved what the question has asked us to prove. Histograms. These are my worst enemy. I absolutely hate these questions. 0 to 10 is 40, right? So I know that that area there is 40. And that's all the information that's going to marry up with the graph, because this is given and it's also given on the graph. So now what is the frequency density going to be? The frequency density is equal to the frequency divided by the class width. So in this case it's 40 divided by the width between 0 and 10 is 10. So 4. So that means that's 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, what is the question even asking us to do? Complete the table. No surprises there. Okay, so 10 to 15 has a height of 7, so it's got a frequency density of 7, which means that 7 times by the class width for 5 is 35. The area of this bar is 35, is another way of thinking of it. What's the area of the next bar? Well, that looks to me like 7.8. And 7.8 times 5, I should know this, 7.8 times by 5 is 39. So that's got an area of 39. And this one is 5.6. And 5.6 multiplied by 10 is 56. Great. And now it asks me to complete the histogram. And the frequency here is 30 over 30, which is 1. So therefore it is 1, and it goes all the way to the end this time. Yeah, so let's just fill this in. 56, and that's 30. One of the people working in the store is chosen at random. Work out an estimate for the probability their distance travelled in person is greater than 25. Okay, so I need to draw this line down here at 25. And I want to take all of the people to the right of that, because it said greater than. Well, first off, this green section is half of this 58, so therefore it's half of the 56, so therefore it's 28. And we've also got this 30 here. So the number of people we're looking at is 30 plus 58. They're the people that are over 25 kilometers. And it's asking me for the probability, so I need it out of everyone, which is the sum of the frequency, which is 40 plus 35 plus 39 plus 56 plus 30. So that needs to go into the calculator. 30 plus 58 over 40 plus 35 plus 39 plus 56 plus 30. And that equals 0.44. Oh, whoops, that was silly. That should be 28. Whoopsie. Don't judge me, I'm sorry. I added the 30 and the 28 and I got 58. Got too excited, carried away. Okay, 29 out of 100, that sounds good. 29 out of 100. Right, let's look at this. Now, this says the number of elements, so that means that each section should have only one number in it, and that number represents how many things are in that section. And this would like to know the total number in the union of A and B. So the union means everything in A and everything in B all together now. So that is the union, and we're going to add those up. We're going to do 12 plus 5 plus 6 plus 10 plus 3 plus 9. I'll try not to make a mistake this time. That's going to be 22, 33, 36, 45. Okay, this is the intersection of A, not A, and not B. So I want all of the parts of this diagram where we are not in A and we are not in B. So you have to be in both not A and both, sorry, you have to be in both not A and not in B. And these are the only two places that are not in A and are also not in B. So that total of that is 4 plus 8, which is 12. And now we are looking for this next set, which is A intersection B. Well, that's where A and B meet. So those are the elements which are in A and in B, both at the same time. And I want to union that with C. So I'm also going to let C into the party, basically. So if you're in C, you're in. So all of you are also allowed in. And that is going to give me 5 plus 6, 4, 10 and 3, which is 11, 21, 28. Okay, classic question this one, and we're working out the upper bound. So therefore we want P to be upper. Actually, I'm going to use these little arrows to represent upper. So I want P to be as big as possible. So I'm going to make T as big as possible. But I want to take away the smallest I can possibly take away in order to maximize the overall value. And I also need to divide by the smallest thing I could possibly can, because if you divide by a small thing, your answer gets bigger. So let's look at these bounds. So 9.7 in the middle. I'm only allowed to use one decimal place. So the number to the left would be 9.6 and the number to the right would be 9.8. And the lower bound is found in here, 9.65, and the upper bound is found over here, 9.75. Now which one do I want? I need T to be upper, so it's 9.75. Let's look at W. I'm going to put 5.9 there. Again, one decimal place, so I can go just one either side, like this. I'm looking for the lower bound, so that's found in here, and that will be 5.85. And then finally, I've got Y, which is 3. So 3, I'm only allowed to use one figure, so 2 that way, 4 that way. And I'm looking for the lower bound, so it's between these two, so it's 2.5. So all over 2.5. So to the calculator we go, 9.75 minus 5.85, all over 2.5. Great, that is 1.56. Okay, it says find the expression for x. So I know that x is 5 over 9 times y, and y is 5 over 5a minus 2 plus 5. I'm going to multiply that 9 through, and when I multiply a fraction by 9, for example, I need to multiply the top or the numerator by 9. Now, when I have a fraction on a denominator, what I like to do is multiply through by 5a minus 2, in this case, which is the denominator of the fraction on the denominator. So that's going to be 5 lots of 5a minus 2 on top, and on the bottom, this is going to, that multiplying through is going to cancel with that divide there. So that left term is just 45. And then when I multiply the 5a minus 2 by the 5, I'm just going to get 5 lots of 5a minus 2. Okay, now I'm going to want to expand the denominator, and that's going to give me 45 plus 25a minus 10, and then simplifying further, I will get 35 plus 25a, and I've spotted there's a factor of 5 on the denominator, which is helpful because there's also a factor of 5 on the numerator. So I'm going to want to cancel that out, because if you can factorize, then it means that you can simplify. And that's going to give me my final answer of 5a minus 2 over 7 plus 5a. Okay, let's see what they're asking for. It's the angle between AD and the base. So I would draw a line that would connect A and D, like that. Let me draw that a little bit better. And then I'll need to draw a line directly down to the plane, or in this case the base, and then I'll draw a line connecting them up. So that's the triangle that we're going to use. I'm going to draw it just here on the side, just for reference in a 2D plane. Okay, so we need to find out, well, two of these sides basically. The first side I'm going to find out, let's call this capital M, the midpoint, is I'm going to find out A to M. Now A to M is a hypotenuse of a triangle which goes 15 across, and then half of 10, which is 5. So it's going to be 15 squared plus 5 squared, and then square rooted. So this is going to be the square root of 225 plus 25, so that is the square root of 250. Now the next one I can look for is D to M. I think we should be able to work that one out, D to M, because that itself is a side of another right angle triangle that looks like this. So in this case, that's one of the shorter sides, so we have to take the hypotenuse squared, which is 12, and then minus the other shorter side, which is again 5 squared. So that is the square root of 144 minus 25, which is the square root of 119. Okay, so now I can put all that information over here. I've got 119 is the height, and along the base is the square root of 250. This is the angle I'm looking for. So in order to work this out, I would need to use tan to the minus 1 of the opposite over the adjacent, and that would go into my calculator. Notice I'm trying to keep all my values in exact form, and I need to, just quickly change it to a degree mode, and I would do tan to the minus 1 fraction root 119 over root 250, and I'll get 34.6. Okay, a sequence question, and it's given me the sum, and I know the sum formula. It's in my formula booklet. It's n over 2, 2a plus n minus 1 d, and I'm told that's equal to 292. But it hasn't told me the value for n yet. Okay, it tells me that the second term, A2, is equal to 8.5, and I also know that the second term is equal to the first term plus n minus 1 times by the difference. So 8.5 is equal to a, which is the first term, plus n is 2 because it's the second term, take away 1 is 1 times by d. I can also use this same formula for A5, which is 13. That's equal to A plus, again, n minus 1 times d, which is equal to A plus n is 5, so take 1 is 4, so 4d. Okay, let's solve a simultaneous equation then. So I've got 13 is equal to A plus 4d, and I've got 8.5 is equal to a plus 1d. I'm going to subtract these two equations, and that's going to give me 4.5 is equal to 3d, so therefore d is equal to 1.5. And if d is equal to 1.5, 8.5, a plus d, so a plus 1.5 is equal to 8.5, so a is equal to 7. Okay, I can now use this equation at the top here and use the a and the d, which I've calculated below, to work out the value of n. So I've got 292 is equal to capital N over 2, in brackets 2 times 7 plus capital N minus 1 times 1.5. Okay, I'm just going to do some algebra rejigging. I'm going to times both sides by 2 to get started, which gives me 5, 8, 4, and that gets rid of the divide by 2 there. This gives me 14, and when I multiply out these brackets, I get 1.5n, and I get minus 1.5. So sorting this out is going to give me it's going to be 14n plus 1.5n squared, and then minus 1.5n. And then writing it all on one side, that's going to give me plus 12.5n, and that's going to give me minus 584. And then I'm going to times both sides by 2 in order to get rid of these, because this is all equal to 0 now. So I can times both sides by 2, and I get 1,168 equals 0. Okay, I'm going to want to use my quadratic formula for that. So I would write that n is equal to plus or minus b, which is 25. Sorry, what am I thinking? Minus 25 plus or minus the square root of 25 squared minus 4 times 3 times minus 1,168 all over 2 times 3. So I do that, but secretly I go to my calculator and I go to the polynomial, degree 2, 3 3 whoops, this is painful. 3, yes. 25, yes. Minus 1168 equals 16. Now the other one is most likely to be a negative, and it's not an integer, it has to be an integer, so 16 is my answer. Okay, this means put 2 into G and then put that into F. So let's first find G of 2. So I get 7 times 2 minus 6, which is 14 minus 6, which is 8. And then I'm going to put that into F, and that is going to give me 5 times 8 squared minus 10 times 8 plus 7. And let's go to the calculator. We would do 5 times 8 squared minus 10 times 8 is 80 plus 7 gives you 2, 4, 7. Find the inverse function. Okay, the inverse function of a quadratic we have to use completing the square. So I first off take out a factor of 5, and that gives me x squared minus 2x. And in fact, I can leave the 7 outside the brackets. Most of the time it makes it easier. And now we just complete this square. Well, the b term excuse me, is minus 2. So that's the value I need to half. So I half minus 2 to get minus 1. And then I always take away that value minus 1 is squared. And that is still multiplied by 5, and then we add 7 to it. So this is going to give me, when I multiply through by 5, this bracket, and this is going to be 1, it's going to be minus 1 times by 5 minus 5. Plus 7 is going to give us plus 2. So here is my f of x. And now I can use my my inverse function technique, which is by labeling the function y and then swapping the x's and the y's over. And that's essentially swapping the inputs for the outputs and thus creating an inverse function. And now I can make y the subject by subtracting 2 from both sides. Next step is to divide through by 5, which isolates the squared term, and then I can square root this, and I will get plus or minus here, and then I will get y minus 1, and then I can add 1 to both sides, so I get 1 plus or minus the square root of x minus 2 over 5 equals y. Now we'd be very careful at this stage, and we have to go back up to the top, because we need to figure out which one of these is going to be correct. There can only be one. So we can see here that x needs to be greater than 1. So therefore, if x is greater than 1, then the inverse function must produce values which are greater than 1. So it must be 1 plus the square root of x minus 2 over 5. Okay. Right, tricky question this. My first thought is to split this line up like so. And then what we can do is we can look at this region that I'm going to highlight. First off is this region, this sector here. Okay, we're going to look at this sector. Okay, now that sector is equal to, that sector there is equal to 50 over 360 multiplied by pi r squared, where r is 5, so that's times by 5 squared. Now, if I wanted only this part, then I would need to subtract this triangle here. And the area of that green triangle would be a half A, which would be the side length of the triangle, which is 5, times by the other side will be 5, because it's also a radius, multiplied by sine of 50. Okay, so that's given me this side, that blue bit. Now, I'm hoping I could do something similar for the other side, but I don't have the angle there, which is a bit annoying. But we can work out the angle by looking at this triangle here that has 4, 5, 4, sorry, and it has an angle of 25 on that side. So if I go like this and I go like that and I draw it out, I've got 5, 4, and I've got an angle of 25. And I really want this angle here. So that angle I can use the sine rule to create. So sine of theta over 5 will equal sine of 25 over 4. So therefore sine of theta will equal 5 times sine 25 over 4. And then to get theta I would do sine to the minus 1 of 5 sine 25 over 4. Okay, let's work that out. Sine to the minus 1 of sine 25 close bracket over 4 gives me an answer of 31.89. So theta equals 31.89. Now if we go back to our diagram again, that was just this angle in here. By symmetry, I'll need to double that angle to give me this angle in here, which will be twice 31.89. So that's 63.78. So 63.78. Okay, now in order for me to work out this green region here, I'm going to have to do the same thing I did on the other side, which was first work out the area of the sector, which is 63.78 over 360 times by pi times by 4 squared this time. And then I'd have to take away the triangle, which would be a half times by 4 times by 4 times by sine of 63.78. And then I'd have to add these two things together, and that will give me my total region R of the blue and the green. Okay, right, to the calculator then. This is going to be horrendous. Multiply by pi, multiplied by 5 squared. Okay, and then I will do minus 0.5 times 25 times sine of 50. So that top value gives me 1.33, and then the bottom one, I'll just do a few more decimal places, so 275, and then the bottom one is 63.68 over 360, and then I'm going to multiply that by pi and multiply that by 4 squared. I'm going to subtract a half of 16 times sine of 63.78, and I'm going to get 1.72, and in fact what I'm going to do is 728 and 5, and I'm going to just add that straight to that 1.33275, and I'm going to get 3.06 to 3 significant values. So 3.06 is my answer. Wallop. Okay, strap yourself in. The final question, and it's an absolute beast, but if you're aiming for a 9, then these are the types of questions you want to try and get marks on. So first off, it tells us that we need to find an expression for O to P. We basically need to figure out where this P value is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by looking at the diagonals that P sits on, starting off with O to C. Now, how can I get an expression for O to C? Well, what I can do is I can go along here and then up there. So we can say that O to C is 2A plus 3B. And O to P, because P sits on that line, it must be some fraction of O to C. So I'm going to write it as x times by O to C. That fraction x could be a half, it could be a quarter, it could be 2/3. I don't know yet, but it is a fraction of O to C. And I'm going to do the same with the other diagonal. And I'm going to first off work out what A to B is. And that's going to be minus 2A, and it's going to be plus 5B. So I'm going to go this way round like that. And once again, I could say the same thing, and that is that A to P must be some fraction of A to B. And I'm going to call that fraction y. So it's a different fraction. Again, I don't know what it is, but we're going to try and find out. And now what I need to do is I need to find a way of combining these two things that I've just created. So what I'm going to do, whoops, apologies. Are we back? We're back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write O to P is, first off, I know that it's x 2a plus 3b, but is there another way that I can find O to P by maybe not just going directly there, going a different way around and including A to P? Well, yes, there is. I can do this. So I know that O to P is also equal to 2a plus A to P, which I know is y minus 2a plus 5b. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand these brackets out, and then I'm going to do a tactic called equating coefficients. So first off, I expand the left side, and I will expand the right side, like so. And I will know that both sides must have the same number of A's, because A is essentially how far you have to move in the direction like this. So it must be the same for both, because both are going to the same place. They're going from O to P. So let's collect the A's together, of which I've got 2ax is equal to, on this side, 2a minus 2ay. I can divide through by 2a, so I get x is equal to 1 minus y. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the b's. Again, the b's must be the same, because b is just how far you move in one particular direction, and it must be the same because we're going from the same place to this. We're going from O to P in both cases. I could divide through by b, so I get 3x, is equal to 5y. And now I need to solve these two equations simultaneously. So I'll multiply this one by 5. And then I can replace the 5y with a 3x to get 5x is equal to 5 minus 3x. So 8x is equal to 5 and x is equal to 5 over 8. I can then go back to my equation for OP, the first one I made, which was x 2a plus 3b, which is 5 over 8 2a plus 3b, which is 5 over 4a plus 15 over 8b, and we are done. Wallop. Thank you very much. That was IGCSE in an hour. Like and subscribe, that would be great. Thank you very much. See you later.